we're going to start call to get a roll call, please.
Dan Foyle on Zoom,
Present.
John Lloyd,
Present.
Kelly Rast is absent, Ken Klingensmith,
Present.
Fred Wingert is absent, Dennis Bolin,
Present.
and Emily Coleman.
Present.
Thank you.
Thanks. Sherry, can you read the hybrid statement, please?
Sure. This meeting is now being recorded. Please silence all electronic devices. This meeting is being held in the board hearing room with zoning board members attending in person. There is also an option for virtual attendance on Zoom webinar. If you are using Zoom, you may participate in the meeting using your computer, telephone, or other electronic device. For Zoom participants, chat will be disabled once the meeting begins. If you have trouble, please call 913-715-1700. If you would like to speak, please use the raise hand function in the Zoom app to notify planning staff of your desire to speak. To activate this function, click raise hand in the webinar controls at the bottom of the screen. By telephone, you may raise your hand by dialing *9. Please do not utilize the raise hand function until the start of the agenda item about which you desire to comment. We will take comments from in-person attendees first, followed by Zoom participants. The Zoom moderator will call on individuals who have raised their hand. The chairman may modify these procedures as needed to conduct an orderly and efficient meeting. All public speakers will be limited to 3 minutes unless the chair designates a different time period in order to accommodate all the speakers. When your name is called by the moderator, your microphone will be unmuted. Please state your name and address for the record, followed by your comments. If you share comments, concerns, or points made by others, please refrain from repeating those comments and instead note for the record that you agree with the previous individual's comments. There will be a 10 seconds remaining warning sound. For board members and presenters, please state your name every time you begin talking so that the comments can be transcribed for the record. This is a public meeting. We are presenting live and recording the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Item 2, agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda for this evening?
This is Ken. I make a motion to approve the agenda for this evening.
Emily Coleman, I second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Right. The agenda is approved. Disclosure of conflicts of interest. Anyone?
None.
External contacts or discussions? Nobody? Okay. Minutes of the November 2nd meeting.
Dennis Bolin, I'll make a motion to approve those.
This is Ken Klingensmith. I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay. Minutes are approved. Board reports. Board of County Commissioner actions.
Diane Wicklin, Planning Department. I'll do that quick report. So a few months ago, this board heard a CUP application for a dirt excavation and fill operations on 199th Street. That conditional use permit application was approved by the BOCC on December 1st. And that's it in terms of updates on board reports.
Thank you. Planning Commission actions.
Michelle Leininger, planning staff. The Planning Commission did not have a meeting this month or will not have a meeting this month. They did meet in November to discuss the direction of a proposed text amendment for accessory building and structures. The planning commission gave some direction based on some staff information, and some draft text will come back before the planning commission at their January 24th meeting, along with a year in review and the 2023 strategic plan.
All right. Thanks, Michelle. Okay, with that, we're going to move on to business before the board. Application number SE 22249 FDP, the final development plan and plat for 175th and Kenneth Road. Dale Brook. I'm sorry, Dale. Dale Brook is an applicant for Loch Lloyd Estates. Staff report.
Oh, okay. Diane Wicklund, Planning Department. I would like to enter in the staff report dated November 30th, 2022 into the record. The applicant is requesting approval of a final development plan, which is serving as the final plat for the 23 lot residential subdivision to be known as Blue Valley at Loch Lloyd. And as you can see here on the screen, the vicinity map, it's located at 175th Fifth Street and Kenneth Road. So should look familiar to you. The rezoning to the Plain Residential Neighborhood 2 District and the preliminary development plan as the preliminary plat was approved by the Board of County Commissioners on August 11th of this year. And just a reminder that that PRN2 zoning district has a 2-acre minimum lot size. The proposed final plat is identical to the approved preliminary plat, except that the cul-de-sac Kirkwall Court has been shortened in length. And the end of the street is about 30 feet further to the west, which provides additional buffer from the residential subdivision to the east. The subdivision will be a private gated community. The lots range in size from 2 to 3.05 acres. And the lots in the subdivision have no direct access to either 175th Street or Kenneth Road. The plat shows a total of 60 feet of right-of-way along both 175th Street and Kenneth Road. And there is an emergency access entrance identified on 175th Street. You'll probably remember that, which serves to comply with building and fire code requirements. And then the tracks A through E shown on the plat will be maintained by the homeowners association. And those tracks will be used for open space, landscaping, dry stormwater detention basins, and for the emergency access entrance. And so you can see on your screen here, here's an aerial view of the subject property. It's outlined in blue. And then this is an aerial view of the surrounding area. So you can kind of see the Missouri side and part of Loch Lloyd there on the east side. And then here's a copy of the final plat. And then this is the final development plan, which is pretty similar to the final plat. And then this is the approved preliminary development plan. So also just to note that the minimum infrastructure requirements were reviewed as part of the preliminary development plan and the rezoning application, and the proposed final plat, subject to compliance with the recommended stipulations, does comply with the minimum infrastructure requirements. So the final plat has been reviewed with respect to that approved preliminary plat and the zoning and subdivision regulations. And the final plat does comply with the approved preliminary plat. Certain stipulations from that approved preliminary plat do carry over and are pending prior to recording the final plat. So some of those stipulations with the preliminary plat have been completed. If they haven't been completed, then you'll see them listed in the stipulations for the final plat. Just also to note that there was a memo at the end of the packet from Public Works Department. And then the Building Codes Department, the building official reviewed the final plat and had no concerns with the application and stated that the fire hydrants shall be provided and spaced to comply with the fire code. And in addition, that the fire access gate has been provided for this plat as requested by the fire district. So therefore, planning staff is recommending approval of this final plat. And with the recommended stipulations that you see on pages 10, 11, and 12. And just a quick note on stipulation 6B. I left out the amount for the parkland fee because I had not calculated it yet. I do have that calculation for you, and that's $39,327.70. So that'll be that parkland fee. And then just the reason to approve the final plat is because it does comply with the approved preliminary plat and the zoning and subdivision regulations. And then also on page 13, there's a proposed motion for the board's reference. So with that, I think I'll stop there. If you have questions, I can answer those, and the applicants are also here.
Okay. Thank you, Diane. Questions? Doesn't look like any questions for the staff at the moment. Would the applicant like to speak, please?
Dale Brook. I am the developer at Lock Lloyd North LLC. I live at 11725 Ballymore Court, Parkville, Missouri 64152. I don't really have much to add. One thing I will add, entry into this will come through a development you approved back last year called Stonehaven. We are in the process of actually building that security building as we speak. They will enter through there, come through the Missouri side, then jet back up into these 23 lots from Wallace Way, which is the name of the street. That's really all I have to add to, just so you kind of know how they're going to get into it. And she made the point, we did talk to the neighborhood, and we made that one minor change. We scooted up the cul-de-sac. She didn't mention, we also moved the stormwater retention piping. It also moved up in conjunction with the moving up of the cul-de-sac. We've had conversations with the South HOA. We've agreed to add amenities as part of this package, and they've agreed to obviously accept the streets once everything's finished. That's all I have.
All
I'll
right.
answer questions.
Thank you. Does anybody have on the board have questions for the applicant? Right. Don't see it at this time. Thank you, Dale.
I forgot one thing. I want to continue to thank Diane and Sean. They are rock stars when it comes to being very transparent in what they need and what they want from the developer. So
Perfect. Thank you. Noted. Okay. Is there anybody that would like to make any public comments? Anybody in the room? No? Anybody on Zoom?
There is one Zoom attendee. They don't have their hand raised yet, but from previous experience, maybe we just give a few seconds and
Right.
see if the hand gets raised. Okay, it doesn't appear so.
Okay, we don't see any public comments. So we're gonna move on to before we close the public comments, going through the board one more time, any questions for the applicant or the staff? All right, so we're gonna close the public comments, discussion of the application by the zoning board.
This is Ken. I think the final plat is consistent with the preliminary plat. The comments and items that we had brought up or brought concern to and conversations have all been addressed, and I feel everything's done appropriately. I can make a motion when we're ready.
Okay, thank you, Ken. John Lloyd, I agree with Ken's comments. The preliminary work was pretty well done and they addressed what few comments that we had.
Agree with that, with that comment.
Want to make a motion, Ken?
Sure. I move that the board approve application number SE 22-249 FDPAU for a final development plan, which will serve as the final plat for the 23 lot subdivision to be known as Blue Valley at Lockploy for the reasons stipulations recommended by staff and set forth within the staff report.
Emily Coleman, I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, this will pass and will be recommended up to the zoning board, from the zoning board up to the Board of County Commissioners when?
Diane Wickland. So this application will go to the Board of County Commissioners on January 5th at 9:30 a.m., 111 South Cherry Administration Building in this room. So.
All right. Thank you, Diane. Okay, we're going to move on to the next and last item on the business before the board. Application number SE 22262 FDP, final development plan, and SE 22263 conditional use permit, 20924 Floyd Street. Judd Clausen Phelps Engineering for the applicant and Sean Baxter Investments LLC, the landowner. Okay. All right, Michelle.
Good evening, Michelle Leiniger, County Planning staff. This is a revision to an approved final development plan and conditional use permit for Lawn and Landscape Solutions located in the Metcalf 211 Business Park on the west side of Metcalf between 207th Street and 215th Street. This is the current final development plan, which was approved in December of last year. This plan includes an existing office building, contractor office building, development of a parking lot to the north of the building, an outdoor storage area on the southern portion of the lot. This was approved. This approval was dependent on the construction of the public infrastructure, which includes regional stormwater facilities to the south and west, and the extension of 210th Street on the southern edge of the property. These improvements are the responsibility of the project developer, and while the plans have been submitted, the improvements have yet to be made, which is holding up the applicant's outdoor storage. Because of the delay, the applicant is requesting revisions to the approved plans in order to develop the outdoor storage in two phases. So allow phase one to be completed and outdoor storage to be utilized prior to the public infrastructure improvement completion. This is a revised plan showing phase one outlined in red. This changes the previously approved parking lot to the north of the building to outdoor storage and shifting the greenhouses and the storage bins to the north, and then adding an on-site temporary stormwater detention pond. The proposed phase one changes meet the zoning regulations and fire distance and circulation requirements. And then this is phase two outlined in blue on the bottom. This will occur after the public infrastructure is completed. This allows for the second site access from 210th Street, as previously approved, and removal of the temporary stormwater facilities. The storage bins will also be shifted back to where it was originally planned, and then the greenhouses will also do the same. The overall changes from the approved plans to the proposed plans are the parking lot to the north of the building, an outdoor storage area. It's a loss of 51 parking stalls on site, 39 are required. And so that excess parking would be just shifted into storage area. The required 39 parking stalls are maintained on the site. The outdoor storage area after phase two is complete will grow by approximately 37,000 square feet from the approved plans. With the proposed changes, the traffic will not increase from the approved plans. The parking requirements are met. The site circulation is adequate and meets emergency and fire code for both phases. Landscaping and screening requirements are met. And the stormwater drainage is addressed through an updated stormwater study will need to be submitted and approved by Public Works. Fireworks. The project remains in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the regulations, will not create hazards from fire or other dangers, will not impair the public health, safety, and general welfare. Staff does recommend approval of the revised final development plan and the amended conditional use permit for an outdoor storage yard on property located at 20924 Floyd Street with the stipulations as outlined in the staff report. And then here is a suggested motion. If you see fit, I can answer any questions, and the applicant is here for questions also.
All right. Thank you. Questions for staff?
Up here, let's say this would be, where am I? North of where the building is today and the parking. The preliminary plan had in that corner up there, that's where the original parking was expanded.
Yes. So here, let me flip back and forth for you. It kind of shows that expansion of the outdoor storage area into, there's some green space and then some parking that was transferred to the outdoor storage. It will not. That's excess parking that they had decided to provide if that is necessary for employees or, ebb and flow for summer and winter, that can be accommodated within the storage yard.
And the allocated for that facility is adequate. But being proposed now without that.
Right, they're required 39 parking spots, and with the revised plans, they show 39 parking stalls.
The other, besides moving the greenhouse, additional, then they go to phase 2 of that.
It shows to be transferred to, it's kind of a little bit of the storage bins and then it'll be more outdoor storage. The detention pond is actually to the south and west, so it flows off this area kind of to the north and west into a drainage swale, and then it goes all the way down to that detention pond. So that will not be necessary when the regional facilities are completed.
What they need to do so that.
Correct.
Thanks, Ken. Other questions for staff? Okay, applicant. Thank you, Michelle.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Judd Clausen with Phelps Engineering. Address is 1270 North Winchester, Olathe, Kansas. Appearing on behalf of Baxter Investments, the landowner. Sean Baxter to my right, who's the owner of the property and owner of the business Lawn and Landscape Solutions that operates out of this property in this building. He purchased this, has it been a few months ago or February, so almost a year ago. And this is a site that you've seen before and have approved for this use. So we're back before you to modify the plan, as Michelle had very well described, to really break it into 2 phases so that Sean can get going with the use of the property that he bought, at least with phase 1 until such time as that road is constructed by the master developer. And then at that time, he'll complete phase two. I really don't have any other further questions or comments, and we're both available to answer your questions.
Just have one question, Judd. So the detention pond that gets constructed and goes away, is that being done at the expense of this landowner, or is the developer? It is?
Yes, it's a temporary detention pond, phase one, to take care of phase one, until such time as the master detention basin, which there wasn't a graphic about it at this time, but you may recall it's way at the west end of the property. It's sort of a regional basin for all the lots within this development on this western side. And that'll be constructed when the street is constructed, along with storm sewer and some ditch grading and such as part of that public improvement project. And until that's done, we have to provide the stormwater detention and quality controls so that Sean can complete at least phase one.
There's no way to push that down the road so he doesn't have to go to that expense.
Not under the regulations as I understand them, but
Is it detention or retention?
detention and stormwater treatment.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So,
Gosh.
those regulations are in place for any development such that if something happens and it's a delayed amount of time before phase two can be completed, the county and the landowner are all compliant with the regulations.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you guys have done good work. I appreciate him doing that. I hate to see him have to do it. So,
Agreed.
okay. Other,
This is probably a question about staff and Clement Smith. When's the road improvement center 210 supposed to be completed?
The plans have been designed. It's in permitting and the master developer is working on getting contractors lined up and that work. Hopefully it can happen in the spring, but it did not happen this year, given price increases and other things that have really caused a delay in the construction, because it's well past its budget that was initially planned a year ago when this went forward.
right? Any other questions for the applicant? All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody here to comment publicly? Don't see anybody out in the peanut gallery. Anybody on the Zoom?
There are no attendees on Zoom.
Oh, boy. All right. Doesn't look like any public comments. Any other questions or any other questions by the zoning board for staff or applicant? Okay. We're going to close the public comments, discussion of the application by zoning board.
This is Ken Klingenstern. I think this is reasonable. Request to allow him to get going, make things happen. I do agree with you on the retention on it. It'd be nice to have it very fair, so you don't have to put that expense to put that in place, only to have to go away once the infrastructure improvements are there. But I'm supportive of the application.
Thank you, Ken.
I agree with those comments. It's too bad that he has to pay for that.
I agree.
But yes, I would agree with that and make the motion to approve it.
I'll read the motion out loud. I'm gonna make you read it out loud there. Dennis.
Read it out loud. Dennis Bolin, I move to recommend approval of the revised final development plan and amended conditional use permit for outdoor storage on subject property located at 20924 Floyd Street, with stipulations and for the reasons outlined in the staff report.
Emily Coleman, I second.
Right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's approved and it'll be recommended by the zoning board up to the Board of County Commissioners when?
Excuse me. This will go before the Board of County Commissioners at their January 5th meeting, which is at 9:30 a.m. here in this room at 111 South Cherry Street.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, those were the only two business items that we had. Under other business, I wanted to note that from the training and workshop session that y'all had here a while back, somebody had requested some parliamentary procedures notes, and so we've got a condensed Robert's Rules of Order and a little Robert's Rule of Order cheat sheet that Sherry handed out to everybody. Wanted to just note that in the record. And that's handy stuff. Okay. That's all I had. Any other business? Okay, all we need is a motion to adjourn.
Emily Coleman, I motion to adjourn.
Dennis Bolin, second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're adjourned.
Yeah, I believe that would be January 5th or 7th. Anybody
pull it
have a
up.
calendar?
Just
Okay,
a
so
moment.
you can show up on the 5th or the 7th.
Or the 7th.
Okay,
It's the 5th.
It's-
Okay, we'll take his word, or do you want to see the calendar?
let's just look.
Thanks for the navigation around the screen.
Yeah,
Realize that existed.
There it is, January 4th, 6:30. Christmas will be over.
happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah. Excuse me. Okay, thanks, everybody. Nice, quick, efficient meeting.